Hello, friends, and welcome. Today in this video, we'll be tackling overcommitment by learning the power of saying no, guided by the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy. In our fast-paced modern lives, many of us struggle with taking on too many tasks, obligations, and responsibilities. We overcommit our time and energy, often driven by societal pressures, fear of missing out, or an inability to set boundaries. This can lead to immense stress, burnout, and a poor quality of life. The ancient Stoics, great thinkers from ancient Greece and Rome, had much to say on this topic that still resonates today. They taught the importance of focusing solely on what is within our control, living with virtue and integrity, and cultivating self-discipline. This video will explore invaluable Stoic strategies to help you break free from the shackles of overcommitment. You will learn to prioritize your obligations, align them with your core values, and confidently say no to excessive demands on your time and energy. We'll hear wisdom from Stoic masters like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius on separating the essential from the non-essential. Their teachings will guide us in living with greater intention, balance, and peace of mind. So stay tuned as we embark on this journey of Stoic self-empowerment. Even if the concepts initially seem challenging, I'm confident that their simplicity and practicality will become evident through relatable examples. Here is a draft introduction section for the video following the outline provided. By the end, you'll possess powerful mental tools to reclaim your time, energy, and autonomy. Let's get started. To overcome something, we must first understand it. So let's examine what overcommitment looks like in our daily lives. Overcommitment occurs when we take on more tasks, obligations, and responsibilities than we can reasonably manage within our available time and resources. It's when our plates become too full, leaving us spread thin and struggling to excel in any area of life. Common signs include constantly feeling rushed, overwhelmed, or behind schedule, neglecting self-care activities like exercise, quality sleep, and nutrition, experiencing strained relationships due to lack of presence, and ultimately facing increased stress, anxiety, and burnout. The Stoics warned against this unsustainable state, advocating for a simpler, more mindful way of living. As Seneca said, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" Just as practicing poverty for a few days reminded the Stoics of what truly mattered, recognizing our overcommitment reminds us that we cannot keep piling on indefinitely without consequences. Our mental and physical health inevitably suffer, yet overcommitment persists as we chase an endless cycle of productivity, people-pleasing, and the fear of missing out. We commit to too many work projects, family obligations, social engagements, and personal development pursuits, trying to have and do it all. But the Stoics would urge us to pause, reflect inwardly, and honestly evaluate whether these commitments align with our highest values and good. As Seneca cautioned, most powerful is he who has himself in his own power. To start making more conscious choices, we must first understand overcommitment as a detrimental state where we are out of alignment and enslaved by external pressures. Recognizing this is a crucial first step. In our fast-paced world, we are constantly bombarded with demands for our time and energy. Opportunities for career advancement, social status, intellectual growth, and numerous other pursuits seem essential and important. The fear of missing out or falling behind can lead us to say yes to everything, piling commitment upon commitment. However, the reality is that we are human beings with finite resources. Despite our ambitions and determination, our attention, energy, and willpower are limited. When we overextend ourselves, something inevitably suffers. Our health may decline due to poor diet, lack of sleep, and insufficient exercise. Our key relationships might become strained due to constant distraction and absence. Our work performance may falter as we rush through tasks in a state of agitation, or our inner well-being might be compromised as we find no time for solitude, contemplation, or simply being present. The Stoics understood the folly of overindulgence in external pursuits and commitments at the expense of our core selves. Epictetus wisely observed, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." By desiring less from the external world, we free ourselves from the relentless striving and burden of overcommitment. Marcus Aurelius echoed this idea, noting, "It is not so much what your circumstances are as how you turn them to advantage." Instead of continually adding to our obligations, the Stoic approach involves intentionally curating our commitments. By focusing only on what is essential and aligned with our principles, we reduce overwhelm and create mental space to operate from a grounded center. We become fully present with the task or person before us, rather than being scattered across a multitude of duties. The Stoics also practiced contemptus mundi, a detached indifference to externals such as wealth, fame, and social status. By stepping back from the frenzy of overcommitment, we recognize that most compulsions arise from chasing these fleeting pursuits. Instead, the Stoic path advocates simplicity, moderation, and reason. We strip away the inessential to focus our limited time and energy on what truly matters according to our values and principles. This approach leads to tranquility and inner freedom amidst the chaos and overstimulation of modern life. As we embark on this journey to overcome overcommitment, the first crucial step is to cultivate a clear understanding of the issue and its underlying causes. Recognizing overcommitment as a detrimental state allows us to make mindful adjustments and live with greater intention and alignment. A fundamental principle of Stoic philosophy is distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not. The ancient Stoics taught that much of our anxiety and suffering arise from worrying about or trying to control things beyond our control. As the Roman philosopher Seneca famously said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." We inflict unnecessary torment upon ourselves when we fixate on hypothetical scenarios, external circumstances beyond our influence, or other people's behaviors. How does this apply to the challenge of overcommitment? The Stoics would advise us to carefully evaluate which of our many commitments, tasks, and obligations truly fall under our control and voluntary action. These are the only aspects we can fully manage. Workplace demands, family obligations, and previous promises can often feel unavoidable or imposed from the outside. Yet the Stoics remind us that our perception and response are still within our control. We can reduce overwhelm by distinguishing between the commitments we can manage through our own discipline and effort and those imposed by external forces. By reframing our perspective, we focus our energy on what we can influence rather than struggling against what we cannot change. For example, while we may not control specific duties at work, we can control our mindset, efficiency in handling them, and ability to set boundaries. With loved ones, we cannot dictate their expectations, but we can guide conversations to address mutual needs. The Stoic path does not involve questioning every commitment, but rather involves distinguishing those we choose to embrace in alignment with our core values and principles. This discernment, focusing on what we actualize in reality rather than agonizing over ideals, leads to a more liberated and empowered existence. As Epictetus taught, the essence of philosophy is distinguishing what is yours from what isn't yours. Overcoming overcommitment begins by reclaiming ownership of what is within our control. This dichotomy between what is up to us versus what is not forms the foundation of Stoic thinking. The Stoics believe that while we cannot control external events, we can control our internal responses and judgments about them. Our minds act as the subjective lens through which we interpret objective reality. Marcus Aurelius exemplified this perspective, writing, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." Two people can experience the same event, such as a work setback or a family conflict, but their internal responses and ability to handle the situation will vary based on their judgment of the circumstances. One person who focuses on factors outside their control, like an unfair criticism from a coworker or an insensitive remark from a loved one, may be overwhelmed by anxiety, anger, and a sense of victimhood. In contrast, someone who redirects their focus to their own actions and mindset remains grounded in personal agency and wisdom. By letting go of the need to control the uncontrollable, we free up significant mental and emotional energy. Instead of struggling against forces beyond our control, we direct our efforts toward adapting and making the best of the conditions we face. This approach is key to overcoming the overwhelm caused by overcommitment. Rather than being bogged down by an excessive list of tasks and burning out trying to achieve the impossible, we gain clarity by focusing on what truly falls within our sphere of influence. Epictetus advised, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." By understanding our actual zone of control, we can prioritize effectively. We maintain commitments that align with our core virtues and values, while letting go of those that do not serve us. Responsibilities at work can be negotiated through honest dialogue about mutual interests. Promises to friends and family can be reassessed based on reasoned principles about what is truly beneficial for those relationships. Even commitments made in haste can be revisited with courage. The Stoics did not advocate abandoning responsibilities, but rather emphasized applying our highest rationality to the commitments we choose to accept. By shedding non-essential burdens, we create space to give our full attention and excellence to each remaining duty. This focused approach allows us to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Ultimately, the Stoics saw life as an opportunity to practice wisdom and virtue amidst temporary circumstances. While we cannot control whether those circumstances align with our preferences, we can control our use of reason, courage, humanity, and self-discipline. This control allows us to govern our own conduct and inner state, which are the only things truly within our power. By reclaiming control within our sphere, we pave the way to overcoming the chaos of overcommitment. Once we've identified which commitments fall within our control, the next crucial step is to prioritize them effectively. Seneca wisely noted, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The Stoics recognized that our time on earth is limited, yet we often squander it on trivial matters that don't align with our deepest values and aspirations. Overcommitment often stems from agreeing to too many non-essential tasks and obligations. So, how do we determine what's truly essential? The Stoics would advise us to regularly reflect on our core virtues, life philosophies, and highest priorities. Then critically assess whether our current commitments align with these guiding principles. One practical method is the Eisenhower matrix, which categorizes commitments into 1. Urgent and important. 2. Not urgent but important. 3. Urgent but not important. 4. Neither urgent nor important. The Stoics would focus on the crucial commitments, those that advance our virtues and life's purpose, while delegating or eliminating the less important ones. Alternatively, the ABC method can be used to label commitments as A. Essential, B. Nice to do if time permits, and C. Superfluous time wasters to discard. Stoics aim for an A life, focusing on what truly matters. The key is to develop a personalized prioritization system that enables intentional living. As Epictetus advised, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Life often pulls us in many directions, but by frequently checking in, reevaluating our commitments against our deepest life callings, and courageously cutting out the excess, we create space to fully engage with what matters most. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Prioritizing effectively strengthens our ability to live with this appreciation. The ancient Stoics were unwavering in their commitment to living in accordance with reason and virtue. They viewed themselves as meticulous artisans, carefully chiseling away at the inessential aspects of life to uncover their truest selves beneath. This process involved regularly revisiting their foundational principles, clarifying their core values, and aligning their daily actions and future commitments with these guiding principles. Much like master artists who periodically step back to assess their work, the Stoics engaged in continuous self-evaluation to ensure their path remained aligned with their ideals. For Stoics such as Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, virtues like wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance were central to their focus. They considered any commitment that did not contribute to the cultivation and expression of these virtues as relatively unimportant. From this viewpoint, common pursuits like wealth, power, popularity, and sensory pleasures are seen as distractions from what truly matters. As Seneca observed, no man has ever become rich by addition, only by subtraction of his cravings. By consistently realigning with their highest values and aspirations, the Stoics prevented themselves from becoming entangled in commitments driven by desires disconnected from their true nature. Their energy was dedicated solely to pursuits that fostered genuine growth and flourishing. Achieving this clarity required significant self-awareness, cultivated through daily practices such as meditation, journaling, and intentional living. The Stoics worked diligently to understand themselves, their biases, fears, and societal influences. This self-insight made it easier to assess their motivations for various roles and responsibilities. They evaluated each potential commitment through the lens of personal truth and wisdom. Would it contribute to their growth in virtue, or simply satisfy transient whims? Could they engage with full focus and presence, or would they be half-hearted? Did it align with their ultimate purpose, or merely create a sense of business? This level of discernment allowed the Stoics to cut through the noise of social pressures and perceived obligations. They could respectfully decline requests that, while perhaps urgent or attention-grabbing, did not align with their highest goals. The Stoics understood the importance of keeping the broader perspective in mind for wise prioritization. As Epictetus advised, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. Even as they diligently prioritize, the Stoics remained flexible in the face of life's inevitable challenges and setbacks. They did not anchor their identity or sense of purpose to any single commitment, recognizing that change is a constant. This mindset enabled them to gracefully adjust their priorities when circumstances shifted. Ultimately, prioritizing our commitments involves continuously realigning our time, energy, and efforts toward our highest ideals and core purposes. It is an ongoing practice of self-awareness, bravely letting go of excess burdens, and intentionally crafting a life dedicated to wisdom and excellence. Stoic exemplars showed that lives of meaning, virtue, and tranquility come from rigorous prioritization. Everything else is merely background noise. With a clear understanding of our top priorities, we must also develop the resolve to say no to non-essentials that risk overwhelming us. As Marcus Aurelius put it, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. The Stoics emphasized acting with integrity and not compromising one's reasoned principles merely to please others or avoid discomfort. Overcommitting due to social pressure or fear of disappointing others conflicts with this philosophy. When we agree to commitments that are lower priorities, those that don't align with our core values, we dilute our time and energy available for our most important goals. We weaken our ability to live a focused, intentional life. Saying no can be challenging, especially for those who struggle with people-pleasing. It might feel rude, selfish, or as if we're letting others down. Our instinct is often to avoid the temporary discomfort of such conversations. However, the Stoics would advise taking the more difficult path, being honest about our limited capacity, setting clear expectations, and maintaining our boundaries with resolve. Epictetus wisely taught, if you don't wish to be a miserable person, don't be a person of many pursuits. With practice, we can learn to say no with empathy, tact, and confidence. For instance, we might say, I appreciate your consideration, but I must decline to maintain a healthy work-life balance. By shedding commitments that don't align with our core values and priorities, we lighten our load and reclaim our most valuable resources, our time, energy, and presence, for what truly matters. Embracing the power to say no enables us to focus on excellence rather than getting caught up in frenetic mediocrity. Seneca noted, A great person is ever unhurried and composed with discernment. We too can cultivate that same centeredness. Saying no can be especially challenging when the request comes from a position of authority, such as a superior asking us to take on extra work. The conditioning to comply can be strong. However, the Stoics remind us that true freedom comes from being governed by our own reasoned will rather than external pressures. As Epictetus said, no one is free who is not master of themselves. While it is prudent to communicate our refusal thoughtfully, the Stoics believe that compromising our core values to please others undermines our highest selves. They emphasize the importance of adhering to our rational principles over yielding to others' demands. Marcus Aurelius exemplified this, stating, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Let your guiding principles take precedence over all else." The Stoics diligently clarified their ruling principles, their core beliefs, moral code, and personal mission, and made decisions and set boundaries based on these principles, avoiding unnecessary inner conflict. From this grounded place, they could say no to inappropriate requests with both grace and firmness. "I must decline, as committing to this would prevent me from fulfilling other essential obligations." This approach involves no guilt, anger, or defensiveness. The Stoics emphasize that overtaxing ourselves rarely benefits anyone. Instead of spreading our efforts thin across too many fronts, we achieve far more by focusing on what truly matters. Seneca wisely observed, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." By declining superfluous commitments, we maintain the presence needed to excel in our highest priorities, which in turn stabilizes our inner spirit and fosters consistent practice of the virtues the Stoics valued. Saying no allows us to present our best selves in each chosen area of life, rather than being scattered and unfocused. The Stoics appreciated the value of a long-term perspective, recognizing that overcommitment ultimately undermines sustainable impact. Burnout, exhaustion, and health deterioration from juggling too many pursuits at once diminish our capacity for meaningful contributions over time. They advocated for a disciplined approach that emphasizes pacing ourselves on a long-term, enduring path. Although saying no can be uncomfortable in the moment, it is crucial for ensuring lasting contribution and inner peace. It safeguards our ability to fully engage with the people and endeavors most deserving of our limited energy and care. Mastering the art of saying no comes from a deep understanding of our true selves and requires significant self-awareness to differentiate between commitments that enhance our essence and those that deplete it. By developing clarity through practices like journaling, meditation, and studying philosophy, we become skilled at establishing wise boundaries. We can then decline requests or opportunities that don't enhance our virtues or align with our core purposes with grace, empathy, and conviction. By communicating a respectful no when something doesn't fit our values, we regain control over our precious time and focus on what truly resonates with us. This process helps us realign with the centeredness and flourishing that the Stoics prized. As Epictetus said, "No outward thing has the power to override reason." Reason should be our guiding principle, while saying no helps manage an overburdened schedule. True, lasting change comes from cultivating self-discipline. Epictetus noted, "No person is free who is not master of themselves." The Stoics viewed a lack of discipline, constantly succumbing to momentary whims and impulses, as a form of enslavement to our basest instincts. Genuine freedom is found in aligning our actions with our highest principles and values. Overcommitment often stems from a lack of self-discipline. We passively take on obligations without filtering or structuring our time and energy, leading to procrastination and distractions. By making self-discipline a habit, we can take assertive control of our schedules and commitments. We learn to evaluate each request carefully before agreeing, time-box our efforts, and maintain protective boundaries. Effective techniques for managing overcommitment include time-boxing your calendar into focused productivity blocks, scheduling buffers between meetings to avoid back-to-back chaos, establishing a morning routine to start each day intentionally, and tackling the most challenging tasks first when your energy is at its peak. As the ancient philosopher Musonius Rufus advised, practice perseverance daily. Begin with small tasks and gradually advance to greater challenges. By consistently applying these strategies, managing overcommitment becomes almost second nature. We proactively uphold our priorities rather than reacting to external demands. Ultimately, self-discipline empowers us to direct our finite time and effort towards our most significant life goals, free from trivial distractions. As Seneca noted, to be able to enjoy one's past life is to live twice. Self-mastery allows us to truly live that worthy life the first time around. The final key to effectively combating overcommitment is the Stoic practice of continuous self-reflection and improvement. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." The Stoics understood that our busy lives could easily become mindless routines disconnected from our core intentions. It's crucial to pause, realign, and ensure our values and principles are consistently reflected in our actions. Techniques such as nightly journaling, biannual retreats to review progress, and daily meditation to check in with our inner guidance are essential. These practices provide space to evaluate whether our current commitments are meaningful investments of our time and energy. For example, a weekly review might reveal a commitment like attending neighborhood association meetings that feels obligatory but offers little fulfillment. This insight can prompt a reevaluation and potential discontinuation. Conversely, if a personal goal, such as learning a new language, has been neglected due to overwork, intentional reflection helps us correct course by prioritizing time for that pursuit. The Stoics viewed life as a continuous journey towards our ideals, with the flexibility to adapt to changing conditions. Regularly reassessing our commitments with honest courage, deciding what to keep and what to let go, is crucial to prevent stagnation and overcommitment. Seneca wisely noted, "There is nothing the busy person is less in control of than their own life." Through diligent self-examination and realignment, we can steer ourselves toward our highest goals. Overcoming overcommitment is an ongoing practice of distinguishing essentials, setting boundaries, and recognizing our limited human capacities. This approach ultimately leads us to live more coherently, maximizing our potential in service of what matters most. In this video, we've explored various Stoic philosophies and practices to address the modern issue of overcommitment. We started by identifying the signs of overcommitment, being constantly rushed, overwhelmed, and out of balance. The Stoics warned that such excessive business can lead to burnout, strained relationships, and a life that feels unfulfilled. We examined the Stoic principle of control, which involves distinguishing between commitments we can reasonably manage and those imposed by external pressures. This principle emphasizes focusing our energy where we can affect change rather than struggling against the uncontrollable. We also explored methods for prioritizing our highest value commitments, ensuring our time and effort align with our core virtues and life philosophies. Tools like the Eisenhower Matrix and the ABC method offer practical frameworks for discerning what truly matters amidst urgent demands. Crucially, embracing the courage to say no is essential for honoring our defined priorities. This means refusing additional commitments that do not align with our core values. Although challenging, setting these boundaries preserves our integrity and allows us to fully engage with what truly matters. To sustain this approach, we discussed the Stoic virtue of self-discipline. By developing habits and routines, we transform prioritization and boundary setting into second nature. We become proactive stewards of our time rather than passive recipients of others' demands. Finally, we highlighted the importance of continuous self-reflection to detect and correct misaligned commitments. An unexamined life, burdened by overcommitment, strays from our highest values and goals. By integrating these Stoic teachings, we reclaim control over our time, energy, and attention. Overcoming overwhelm, rediscovering balance, and living coherently as our most authentic selves is within reach. I encourage you to start applying these philosophies today. While it may feel uncomfortable at first, as all growth processes do, the simplicity and power of the Stoic path will become evident through your own experience.